If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, reacting to the video of Barbara Ferrer throwing out the first pitch at the first of the 2 Dodger doubleheader games on Saturday. Will says the reason she had to put the Terminator glasses on was because Broomhilda wasn't able to find 1 million SPF sunblock for her eyes.
Next slide.
If you'd like to listen to podcast editions of last week's show or any other shows you'd like to listen to, Randy, that's easy to do.
That's right. Go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, or go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Search for The John Phillips Show on YouTube. There are so many ways to download this show. You will definitely not feel like a dummy if you do it.
If the cashier is dummy.
Crime is on the rise here in the state of California, and the national spotlight is on our public officials. What are you going to do about it? Specifically about the smash and grabs. We've seen dramatic video from the Americana in Glendale. We've seen it from the Topanga Mall in the San Fernando Valley. We saw it from the Nike store in East LA. Lots of crime, lots of brazen criminals, but not a whole lot of arrests, and certainly not a whole lot of prison time. So the mayor decided to do a sit-down with public radio to talk about what she plans on doing about it.
And first up, here's Karen Bass saying that the way to solve this crime crisis is for it to get colder outside.
Now, when you spoke to NPR back in April, you mentioned how you've been studying crime trends for the last 3 decades, that crime cycles go up, come back down. From what you've seen, Mayor...
Like when you elect George Gascon, they go up and up and up and up and up. And when you finally kick his ass out of office next year, they will go down.
What factors cause crime to go up?
One of the traditions is that it's summer, and it tends to be that crime kicks up in the summer.
So it's such a hot girl summer that they needed to steal all the handbags at Nordstrom's?
Oh, they're not going to steal anything right after Labor Day. You got to get it in now.
One of the traditions is that it's summer, and it tends to be that crime kicks up in the summer. And what I certainly hope and assume is that this is going to be an anomaly. I'm just speculating that what we will find is that we have a couple of organized groups that are doing this. They will be discovered, they will be arrested and prosecuted, and then this sort of crime will go away.
Okay. Couple of thoughts. First, if she's saying that crime is just a summer phenomenon, then you're making the assumption that there's a big difference between summer and winter in the jurisdiction that you're referring to. Maybe that's the case in some place like Chicago or Minneapolis or Buffalo, where during the winter it's freezing and it's snowing and there's a blizzard, and something like a smash and grab is just harder to do. But in Los Angeles and in much of the state of California, the weather during the summer is very similar to the weather in the winter. We're not dealing with snow. We're usually not dealing with hurricanes, usually. You're not dealing with blizzards. You're not dealing with snowstorms. That doesn't happen here. So I guess the implication could be you have a lot of kids who are out of school. They have a lot of time on their hands, and it's a crime of opportunity. Well, it's not a crime of opportunity. These are organized crime rings. And of the arrests that they've made, Randy, I've seen only 4. 3 women from the state of Washington, and then 1 guy who was local. But they were all adults. I have not seen 1 child, 1 minor under the age of 18 involved in any of this yet who's been picked up.
Well, the ones at the Nike store that weren't even wearing a mask, they were underage. And the reason is they know that they can't be identified on video because they're minors, so why even wear a mask when you steal the Nike shoes?
Okay, so that may be high school students that are out on summer break with too much free time on their hands, the Nike situation. But what happened in Glendale, what happened in the Valley, those were organized crime rings.
Well, and not only that, and we've been covering these extensively since the first big Nordstrom's hit in San Francisco in 2021, these crimes happen year-round. We have not seen an end to the smash and grab since then. Now, there are smaller ones, but these things are happening all the time. And how about the common occurrence that we're seeing here, and especially in Oakland, of people using a car they stole to smash into a building and then grab everything they can? These crimes are constant. There's been no slowdown, not even in the winter.
No. The other angle I think she could be playing is that the thing that they're blaming everything on is global warming. Because if you blame it on global warming, that's something that's not provable. And if it's global warming, then you can't blame them. Why did we have all of the fires in Maui? Well, it's not because the guy who was in charge of the water didn't release it. It's because of global warming. Why do we have fires in California? Well, it's not because we won't clean up the homeless encampments, which start half of them, or force our public utilities to fix their faulty equipment. It's because of global warming. Why is it that there's a crisis at the border right now? It's not because Joe Biden said, go ahead and come here, come one, come all. It's because of global warming. Climate change is pushing people out of the third world and into places like the United States. Why is crime on the rise? Well, it's global warming. I guess the heat makes people anxious. Makes them want to break the law. That's the motivating factor here. Global warming.
Maybe it was going to get so hot that they stole the purses to fill them with water so they could have it like a pouch. And that way they wouldn't die of thirst. It's like Michael Moore in that interview with Mark Brown. Well, you got to understand some of these thefts are crimes of necessity because the poor guy just needs to eat.
Think about this for a second. If anyone in this audience or any man on the street was asked that question by a reporter, why is crime going up? Think about the answers you would get. Prop 47, that comes to mind. No bail, that comes to mind. Proposition 109.
AB 109.
Why do I keep saying that? That's like the third time I've done it.
We didn't vote for that one. That one got shoved down our throats by Jerry Brown.
You know what I need? I need one of those shock collars that you can put on a dog, where every time I do that, you just zap me from the control room. Then I'll learn, finally.
Now, I don't have a zap sound effect, but this is as loud as a zap.
I didn't say cruel and unusual punishment. Or how about George Gascon? We have a DA who flatly refuses to prosecute crime as a point of policy.
Quite frankly,
none of that came out of her mouth. No, it's because it's summer. Because it's summer.
No, she is not going to criticize Gascon any which way or how.
You know, just think about this. If crime is now a summer activity, the next time you go to Target in the spring and they start to put the summer lines out, you know, they have the board shorts and the flip-flops and the sundresses and the bathing suits. Maybe next time they can put some masks and hoodies out, too. This is part of your summer wear. Get your sundress and get your looting clothes. This is what people do. Build your sandcastle and then go rob a department store. And then you can have a nice, refreshing dinner al fresco at night because of the weather. Do you realize how dumb that answer is?
By the way, do you know when the first smash and grab at Nordstrom's in 2021 was?
My guess would be January.
November 21st.
Okay, there you go.
It was freaking cold when they broke into that one up there.
Was it unseasonably warm that day?
It was not.
It's summer. You know, she had to workshop that in front of someone at City Hall and think, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, go with that.
Well, this is why she does the interview with KPCC, because she knows she gets no pushback for anything she says.
Oh, yeah, we're experiencing crime here because it's summer. Go back to that clip for a second, because she talked about, he framed it like she had these social researchers compiling data. And then after he makes it sound extremely scientific, she says, oh, no, this is just a theory of mine.
Now, when you spoke to NPR back in April, you mentioned how you've been studying crime trends for the last 3 decades, that crime cycles go up, come back down. From what you've seen, Mayor, what factors cause crime to go up?
One of the traditions.
What is she, a scientist now?
Oh, yeah. We're going live to Yale here.
One of the traditions is that it's summer, and it tends to be that crime kicks up in the summer. And what I certainly hope and assume is that this is going to be an anomaly. I'm just speculating that what we will find is that we have a couple of organized groups that are doing this. They will be discovered, they will be arrested and prosecuted, and then this sort of crime will go away.
So the question is framed as scientific data has been compiled by your office, and then the answer involves the phrase, I'm just speculating.
Well, it also doesn't help with her scientific theory that we already have evidence that the one person they did arrest in the Glendale smash and grab at the Yves Saint Laurent at the Americana got out on no bail.
When she specifically said that that wouldn't happen. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Mr. Randy Wang is minding the mailbag.
Well, here's one of the ones I can read on the air. There's a few about Barbara Ferrer I cannot read on the air, but they did make me laugh. When it comes to Karen Bass saying that this is a seasonal problem, John writes in and says Karen Bass gives a whole new meaning to the boys of summer.
Yeah.
Well, if Christmas is the season of giving, what's the summer? The season of taking?
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
A large retaining wall just collapsed in Palmdale. So now it looks like Lancaster is actually on top of Palmdale.
Oh, boy.
Boy, the cleanup from this storm is going to be a pain in the ass. Everything just looks so filthy. Mud is truly disgusting, and it's all over the place.
And this is the first time I've ever been in the middle of a tropical storm. Tropical rain stinks.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's one thing if you get water inside your house. That's a pain, but you can get rid of it. If you have mud inside your house, that's a different story altogether.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. All right. It's been a busy day for the mailbag over at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you have another email for us.
That's right. Brooke writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Hey, guys, I don't know if you know this, but there's a famous live album from the 70s by Peter Frampton called Frampton Comes Alive. I was watching footage of it on YouTube recently and noticed a woman who looked exactly like Cecily Myrick Cruz in the front row, waving her undergarments around and singing along. I listened to the album again, and sure enough, about a minute into one of his classics, I could hear her in the background. And there's actually 2 different songs that Cecily Myrick Cruz appears on in this album. Here's one of them.
Ooh, baby, I love the way pissed off.
I'll play you the other one in the next break.
You know, I spent a lot of time in my life listening to the soft hits of the 70s over on Coast. I don't believe I've ever heard that version of it.
Ooh, baby, I love the way pissed off.
We've got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Rain